So how do you get better at assessing? Well, just like the learning principles that we've discovered under the Science of Learning Research Centre's PEN principles, it's repetition. So improving your assessment practice requires, well, just that, practice. As you gain experience, you gain knowledge. And that applies perfectly to assessment. There's a couple of things to avoid. One of those is tick and flick. That's the practice of completing a student's assessment as fast as you can. Tick and flick is exactly that. You're not really reading their responses, especially in short answer or project-based assessment evidence. That's the first paradigm that we have to ensure that we are avoiding. The second, and probably the most important, is adherence to those principles of assessment, which is that we are assessing based on the principles of validity, reliability, flexibility, and fairness. When we embody those principles and avoid that paradigm of tick and flick, we should, over time, improve our personal practices as an assessor. But the next step to advance your practice as an assessor is to pass that on to others within your organization and potentially further abroad. As a senior assessor, among others, people look up to you. People want you to show them the best approach possible to assessing. That's where your adherence to those two former things will pay dividends for you as a role model. So other than repetition of actually assessing, what's another thing we can do to ensure our assessment practices improve? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's attending and participating in validations. So whether you run the validation session yourself, or you're doing it on your own, or you're participating in someone else's validation, the process gets you used to looking at a lot of different assessment evidence from a number of different students, and you get used to applying those principles of assessment and also the rules of evidence. And just to quickly recap, the rules are valid, authentic, current, and sufficient. So is the assessment that you've received matching up with all those rules? So by repeating your practice of assessment, helping others by role modeling, and finally attending or running your own validation sessions, you'll see that over time, your practice as an assessor becomes honed and you become much more professional in your role as an assessor within a training organization.